Welcome to Speakeasily versus the 80s. We're that wacky next door neighbor podcast that just keeps showing up to talk about the schlock you watched obsessively on cable as a kid because we think it's socially relevant and culturally important. We're the record store working goth punk sidekick to your football playing poet, and we probably won't get asked to prom. We're here for you during our collective midlife crisis, and we're here to explore the classics that made us the perverts we are today. Yep, we're beaming at you live from the past on the internets of the future from an undisclosed location in the Central Galaxy.
I'm Odessa Lil.
With me, as always, are my comedy life partners, Klingon Vanna White and Shecky Davis Jr.
Hello.
Greetings.
Yeah,
Greetings and salutations. Sorry.
Just want to say hello to everybody. It's been a while, but I'm glad that you're around. I've been slowly going crazy
how is your isolation?
due to this isolation and shelter in space. I'm like constantly like screaming out the window, ground control, ground control.
You got to be careful screaming out the window in space.
Well, I mean, it's either that or fart and kill myself. So
Well, there's always that plan. It's kind of like the cyanide tablet.
In space, no one can hear you fart.
yes, the cyanide poop tablet.
What about you, Klingon? How's space treating you?
I'm not okay with it.
She's a terrestrian girl now.
I mean, being so isolated, it's kind of weird.
I
It's
feel
just
you.
yeah. So
Like even more isolated than we usually are.
yeah, at least we get to normally we get to touch each other inappropriately and stuff. But now, like we've been separated for so long, I'm starting to feel I don't know sentimental about you too.
About yeah,
No.
I
yeah.
know I'm missing you.
I'm missing your
Wow.
Kling Dong too. So
Why, thank you.
Wow. It's like we suddenly got a case of the feels.
I know. I've just like you don't know what you're missing until it's gone.
So true.
it's like that song.
Very sad.
It's like that song, Rum
Like
Shaker
all the songs.
It is. It's like all the songs ever.
by Rex and Effect.
You know what? At least we have each other on the space arc.
No,
It's true.
I've been
no.
thinking about maybe we could invite a few more people on the space arc.
Okay.
Sure, as long as they bring their own Febreze.
You know what's the best smell in the world is like when someone takes a dump and then they spray Febreze everywhere
Yeah,
because then
yeah,
it's citrus.
yeah.
Mhm.
Citrus flavored
I have
flowers.
scent free Febreze.
Scent? What?
Scent free Febreze.
Doesn't that
You can get it. It's amazing.
It's like
doesn't
negative
that
space.
defeat the purpose?
Yeah.
Negative space. There you go.
No, what you want is the Febreze to get rid of whatever smell is in the room, but you don't want it to like add another smell.
But that's the
So
part of it.
that's what I have. I have Febreze that gets rid of smells.
It's Febreze
So
Black Hole Edition.
yeah, the black hole edition, and then
So
it doesn't add its own
awesome.
smell on top of it, which I don't like. I mean, I just don't want to smell things constantly. It's just too much information.
Thanks for tuning in to Febreze Hour.
She's like, no, no,
No,
No.
no, Shecky.
so aggressive.
No.
No.
We have scent free Febreze in the spaceship.
Do we have a guest?
Hey, so I figured we'd take care of some business real quick since we're talking about the business end of business. And
Oh,
then
Lord.
and then we can get into our very special guest who I'm super excited about.
Yes.
Yeah, so just so people that are listening know, this is a podcast and they're listening to it in their ears. And we actually welcome any kind of review you might have or feedback. I know it's crazy, but the more reviews you get on iTunes, apparently the more likely you are to show up to people. So help us out. If we've made you laugh or we've annoyed you, I don't give a shit. Just leave
If I
us a
make you
review.
cry yourself to sleep.
That's a given. But and then we'll read your review on the air. In fact, we got a really awesome review back in July, and I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it. It's from Haunter B's second phone. I think that's the real
Huh?
name. Yeah. The title of this review is "It's Not the Quantity," which is something we've all heard. There are thousands of comedy podcasts where a few loud people just yak, yak, yak about weird topics. They grind out a couple of hundred episodes. They have 3K, 5-star reviews, and they just absolutely blow. 5 minutes in and you feel exhausted and need an Advil. But Speakeasily Hour Minute Podcast is way different. It's very surreal in a way. It uses sound effects, background sounds, and its fictional characters. I took to it in a way that no other FM radio morning zoo gang comedy podcast could ever hope to do. That's us. We're the morning
Oh,
zoo.
a meow.
This person's likening us to like a morning zoo show, which I think is hilarious. I
Can
love
I be
that.
the rhino?
Yes, morning stampede.
You're in the morning with Ridgehead. Ridgehead.
Honk, honk. Don't take my horn. Honk,
Rich Head
honk.
and Little Shecky. Time to get the lead out. So thank you. Yes, leave us a review. We'll
Thank
read it
you.
on air. Time to show. Shall we show? I am so excited to have a great friend of the podcast on, and she's also a great friend of us humans and aliens on this podcast. We go way back with her, and today we go deep underground. She wears all the hats at a well known comic book company, editing children's picture books, horror graphic novels, gay detective books, and more, all kinds of stuff. She loves old horror anthologies. She's a cat mom of several. She has an alternate burlesque persona known as Pickles Kintaro, and she founded the first and only all Weird Al burlesque troupe called Tight and Nerdy. She's halfway through gaining the COVID-19, currently at 10 pounds, but she does believe in herself, so stick with it. And she's been known to use the word chud in daily conversation. Welcome, Jan Jones.
Hi, all.
Hey, Jan.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I know my alter ego has worked with you guys before, and I was so honored and thrilled when I got the
Oh my
invite.
God.
Thank you.
So are
Yeah.
we.
Yeah. We feel like legitimate.
I know. You're like a real person.
I beg to differ.
I mean, we were very surprised.
Ask her cats.
So when she was reading this stuff about you doing the kids stuff, the horror, and the detective, I was just like, what happens if she gets that all mixed up?
I will make a lot of parents
I
angry.
That'd be awesome.
know.
I mean, there might be a market for it, who knows? But yeah, no, I wear all of the hats. I juggle a lot of
Hat
balls
Me
during the
too.
day, and I know balls, but I really, I enjoy it. I like a good challenge. I'm always learning, and I get to impart some of the wisdom that I've learned in my many years in publishing. So it's a cool gig, and I
That
like
is
it.
wonderful. I hope you make like, I mean, nothing that destroys your career, but a slight mistake that makes at least 3,000 children afraid of what's under their bed.
Hang on.
That's awesome.
God, that's the dream, isn't it?
Isn't
That's the
it? Living
dream.
the dream, doing God's work.
It is. It
Gay
really
monsters.
is.
Gay
It
monster
really is.
detectives under the bed.
Yes.
Let me be your muse.
You already are.
You have a illustrious background in comic books. In fact, you were one of the first female editors for DC Comics. Is that right?
I don't. The funny thing is, I was never an editor. I was a managing
Oh,
editor. And yeah, so I kind of helped run the ships, and it was great. Like we weren't the wild west of like this, the 70s and before, but we were still. It was still a lot of fun. It wasn't. Um, it's changed a lot, and I think we had a lot of freedom and a lot of latitude that they don't necessarily have today. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of amazing women who broke the ground before me. I like to think they broke the ground, and my generation normalized it, and then the upcoming generation is just going to take over and kick so much butt.
do you see a lot of women in the industry?
We do, and it's really great. I remember being at DC and, walking down the halls of editorial, there was one female editor and a few assistants, and now there's a lot. I mean, the maybe not in mainstream comics as much, but in the independent comics, for second, there's a lot of strong, amazing women, and it's I think the paradigm is shifting. I think there will always be room and a place for superhero comics. I
Mhm.
think they're great, but I think that connecting with the YA audience, the LGBTQ audience, the all ages audience. Those are markets that are really booming right now, and there's so much amazing content, and it's a really great time. My heart is really happy to see the changes that have been made and the progress that has been made. And I wonder what my life would have been like if these books had been available to me
Mm.
at 14, 15, 16.
So you don't feel like every time you step into a room, you're screaming, "I have a hoo-ha, hear me roar." It's more normalized now?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I think, it wasn't even that when I
That's good.
started, honestly. Like I felt like a lamb to the slaughter. I mean, it wasn't like I have lady bits like worship me. It was more like, oh God, like everyone, I am in a room full of men and I'm kind of getting leered at, and it's
Oh,
weird and it's uncomfortable. And yeah, and there was a lot of that. And I entered comics really early at 23. And so there was a lot there. And I was warned about, oh, watch out for this person, or someone had told me that there was a group of gentlemen at DC and that they would all be asking me on a date, and three out of four of them did within the first 6 months. So, it really was. You did. I joke it was a lamb to the slaughter, and that's what I felt like. But it's changed, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy for this next generation, because I think, while it's not perfect and we have a lot of ways to go, it's so much better than what it was.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
You're responsible for a lot of that.
I don't know about that. But, I mean, it's great. And I mean, I took a step back for a little bit, just because it was a lot. But I'm really glad for my time away from comics too. I think when you're in the industry and you're working there, it feels like the world.
Mm.
And when you step away from it, you're like, it's such a small pond and no one cares, and I learned skills and, all sorts of things that I don't think I ever would have learned had I stayed in the industry. But then I get to come back and really just combine everything. And I think it's awesome, and it's a good place to be, and I'm happy to be back.
Very cool. And what kind of comics did you read coming up?
I as a kid, I read all the Archie books. I even the weird, remember, like, did you guys ever see the weird Christian Archies?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Uh,
God, what the
no.
fudge? But no, I read the Archie books, like anything like that. Archie, Sabrina. In my heart, I wanted to be Betty, but I knew I was a Veronica. Um, it's I finally like came into myself when I realized, fudge, I'm Veronica.
It's a good
Um,
thing. That's why we love you.
I was always a jughead, so that's fine.
Oh, but no, so I read those and then I stopped. And then I just stopped because I found other books. I got really into Anna Green Gables and like VC Andrews and like all
Oh,
these like
god.
weird turns. I know I love the VC Andrews books so much.
Flowers in the
They're
attic.
su- they're such incestuous weird trash, but they're so good. Um, but no, so my senior year in high school, my best friend was dating a comic book nerd, and he gave her a copy of Mad Love by Bruce Timm and Paul Dini,
Yeah.
and she let me read it, and I was like, "Oh my god, I want more of this." And I also was banned from her collection because I crinkled it and I read it wrong. Um, but I was immediately hooked, and I was like, I was hooked, and I went back and I read everything I could get my hands on. From 18 to 22, I worked in comic book stores on and off. I worked in toy stores, and that's how I got started.
So, what are some of the really cool, like, bear, comic book creators that you've met? 'Cause I know there's, like, a ton of cute bears out there in
Rawr.
comics. I mean, come on, it's like a
I'm a
nerd
bear.
haven, like, I
Yeah,
look
let's
at
get
all
to
this.
what matters. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? There are definitely some good bears. There's some good cubs. There's a few otters that are real good
They
looking.
didn't tell me their names or anything, but just saying.
Oh no, I'll DM them to you
Yeah,
later.
phone
Oh, there
number
But
will
you go.
yeah,
do.
Woo,
yeah,
because
I'll
there
just
there's a couple, like, I've always thought Greg Rucka has always been kinda cute and well, that's the I'm now I'm starting to blush because it's like, as a comic book nerd, you sit in the bathroom, reading X-Men, and you're like, ah, he's so cute.
Yeah, I mean there's some really, there's some really good looking people in comics. It's just fact. But yeah, I will send you, Jan Jones's top 5 list of comic book bears.
Ah, you're doing me a solid, sister.
We'll do a calendar.
A calendar, there you go. Yeah.
There we go.
Well, because it's so weird though, because like I don't want to say who I think is like super hot because I know like nowadays, people might be super hot, but they might be a complete asshole. you know,
You don't wanna associate that be associated with their future online persona and just be like, "You like so and so, they're racist."
exactly, or they're like a crazy, crazy ass Ethan Van
Right
Cyber
wing
type
piece of
person, and
shit.
I'm like, no.
Ooh,
Then I'm
yeah.
Did
like,
you see their Instagram from 2017?
There are some really amazing, comic book, like, people in the industry. I've met some of the best people in the whole wide world. There are some creeps too, but honestly, it's been really nice kind of watching, like, karma do its job,
yep,
Hell yeah.
and watching these people get exposed. And honestly, it's weird for me because I'll be really honest, didn't I wasn't on the receiving end of a lot of it because I was a woman who had a relative amount of power. Nobody messed with me. Like, that's the because I could give them work, it's like, you can't groom me. You can't tempt me with, like, I'm going to help you break into comics. I was already there. So all of that power that those dudes thought they, had or were trying to wield didn't affect me. And so I really just got left alone, which was nice. And it's hard. It's weird because there'll be people and it's like, oh yeah, this person did this, this, and this. And my first reaction is, oh, you know what? That sounds so strange because they were always nice to me. But I also believe women and I also know the reality of, of the comic book world. And so yeah, it's I mean, my first thing that's the cycle I go through, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't see how that could happen. Oh, wait, I could totally see how that happened. I totally believe them." And then, that's usually just the tip of the iceberg, and then like 10 million terrible stories comes out, and it's, it's been really kind of weird because um I've had a few of those people that I know that have been on that chopping block, and it's just like, nope, I can't. You kinda made your own bed,
yep.
and this is it.
I'm like, sorry, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you go to bat for a man when, like, historically, men have always been on that side? That might be an
Yeah,
unpopular thing to say, but it's, like,
Oh, it's fact.
so likely that
yeah, and I mean, I've seen it happen, and just because it doesn't happen to you or didn't happen to you doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
yeah,
And I think that's the big thing is that you have to be able to step away from it and be like, didn't never happen to me, but also I was in a position of power. So yeah, it would be with, it's not their best interest. So yeah,
totally.
it's been kind of gross, it's been weird, it's been cathartic. You know,
Wow.
Yeah, I'm seeing it happen a lot in the music industry now too, and it's kind of the
My
same
gosh,
thing. It's
Silicon Valley too.
oh yeah, yeah, and I mean it's both shocking and not shocking at all, and it's entertaining too. And like I hate to say it, but kind of like I'm pulling up the popcorn because I'm like, who's dropping next?
Yeah, it's very cathartic. Like you go on Twitter and it's like someone's trending in the in a like a comic book or something, and you're just
Hashtag
like, oh
yeah,
yeah, and you're just like, oh shit, what they do now?
yeah. You already know what it is, you know.
Yep. And you're just kind of like, well, you did it to yourself.
Yeah, on the other hand, though, I want people to have some sort of chance at, recovery. Like, I mean,
Maybe.
or, depending on how bad it is,
Hmm.
like violence and rape, fuck you, go to jail. Um, but, like if they realize that they were abusing their power or acting it out in a, bad manner or whatever, and then they make some apologies, you, like, give to some charities, I don't know, depending on the how bad the crime is, of, cultural crime or, that I would like to see somebody I mean, people be able to not be completely canceled for making a couple mistakes.
I'm not too worried about these men. Like, I think they will work again just because society has a very short memory. I mean, just look at
Yeah.
how hey, we've like elected fascists into government. We don't remember fucking anything. But like, I'm not too worried about these guys. I think all of this is very temporary. It should be maybe a little bit worse, but I mean, maybe
Yeah.
future
I think I
generations need to see this just to like understand what it is to be a human.
I guess I'm just really I'm thinking too about, like, some of the women that have been caught up in it.
Yeah, I think I mean, honestly, for comics, I think that if somebody was genuinely sorry and wanted to do the work, I do think there is a path to redemption. Unfortunately, we don't see that.
Mhm.
A lot of the time, the guys will just double down on their behavior,
Yep.
or they'll go away for a little bit and then they'll come back and be like,
But
my bad. You know what I mean? So I do, I think that I agree that there does need to be a path to redemption for all people. I mean, if not, then why try to be a better person? What incentive do
yeah.
they have? But also with comics, we rarely see that. We rarely see anybody, really atone and make amends for the damage and what they've done. A lot of times it just gets swept under the rug and then you'll just see them at a different company.
Yep.
Oof.
And so,
And then
like,
they'll be
it's,
like, "Oh, you can't take a joke or something."
yeah,
It's like,
or
"Yeah,
like, oh,
actually, you're not funny, and maybe you should just be smarter."
yeah, or like, well, that was, 5 years ago, and it's like, okay, but, they never learned their lesson. And I think the other thing about, this is the last thing I'll say in cancel culture, we lost an entire generation of strong female editors because of what was going on in the
Mm,
industry.
Yeah.
And these are women who left because of the conditions and they are not coming back. So
yeah.
it's tricky and yeah, I think that there should be a path if someone genuinely does the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just recently, like, rewatched, because we're all locked up, the entire catalog of the Venture Brothers and
Me
watched their whole
me
arc
too, me
from
too.
their whole base, like, weird pedophile and racist jokes at the beginning, and then they just really toned it down and towards the end, and like how, you know, weird and fatty they were at first, and then but it was so funny, like I'd laugh in spite of myself. But then like some of the jokes I was watching that they just didn't age well. And then I just watched how they changed over time. I was actually super proud of them.
Well, because a lot of
Yeah.
that stuff is just a lot of that stuff, unfortunately, is just looking at uh the lowest common denominator. It's like looking at Family Guy, and you're just kind of like, come on now, there's got to be something else that we can laugh about or make fun of or make jokes on.
Also, it's pop culture, they're reflecting and they're reflecting geek
Yeah.
culture, and, not only has population had an awakening, but, like, everyone's had an awakening. All of us have had an awakening since then.
Yeah, and then it's just like their audience on some level expanded. So it's just
Mhm.
like, we're all watching you now.
Yeah, and then people like us go and we make podcasts about chud.
That's what you call a transition.
And it lands like a chud.
It landed like it should.
It sure did.
Well, no, I was just saying that because it's like, it's funny because like the '80s is always kind of that last refuge when you go watch an '80s movie or something. You look back at it from our progressive lenses. We can look back and say, "Oh, that was really cringy," but it was innocent in its racism and in its
You're like, "Is it though?" Yeah.
yeah, and you're kind of like,
Why it comes up every episode for us generally. It's an
I mean,
important part.
some easier than others though.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it, man. From 1984, aka the best year in cinema history, fight
Yep.
me, okay? we bring you the Reagan-era tale of government environmental conspiracy. It also contains possibly the best example of the New York as hell aesthetic since the taking of Pelham 123, and also the worst boyfriend to ever live. That's right, we're going underground with Chud.
Woo!
Let's open the chud gates.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I thought we were watching Chud 2, so that's the one that I watched. So, sorry.
Really?
No, not Bud the Chud.
But the Chud.
Was the worst boyfriend. He was like I was just like, "Oh my god, why is she still with him?"
I think they were married. I think he like it's even worse. Like that
Can't
was
even
her
tell.
husband.
Yeah.
And it's just like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he just did that to you."
Yeah, like, she's pregnant, she's, like, has a national, like, modeling gig,
He
and
ruins it.
and he ruins the gig, then she finds out she's pregnant, and then she wants to and she tells him, and I was just like, "Why did you tell him?" And just like,
Yeah, just leave.
you know, "Go to the doctor."
Just
Totally.
get out.
Get that
He
abortion.
This is the original
Yeah,
Get Out.
Yeah, he's terrible. Like he's like hot garbage and
it's a hot mess.
it's he really is. Like and it's I think that was well, there were a few things that struck me initially about that. Number 1, he's like the worst boyfriend. Number 2, model? Really? I mean, even for the 80s.
But that she was a model?
Yeah.
She actually was in real life.
I just love how we jumped immediately to like, bad boyfriend.
Yeah, totally.
Oh
That's
yeah.
all I care
No,
about.
and then 3, like her pants were the worst.
I thought her
Like
hair was the worst.
yeah, I mean, well, her hair was 80s in an 80s kind of way, but the pants were like mom jeans on steroids. Like how do they
That's a
make you
thing
like
now.
I mean, they were unflattering in every way pants can
Yeah,
be
I love it.
unflattering.
First things. One, the boyfriend's trash.
yeah.
Two, two, her outfits are hideous. It's like I
She
love
was
it.
wearing the dirtiest Keds I've ever seen, and, like, when she was in the shower scene, like, she took those things off, and I was just like, "Oh my god," I remember we used to wear those things until they looked like they start out white, and then they're, like, gray,
Yeah.
charcoal gray at the end, and you could just wear them and wear them and wear them, and no one would say, like, "Get those filthy things out of my house."
Just put
You
them in the
just
washing
wear them.
machine.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was
we
dirty New York. What do you expect?
Oh, the worst.
I would
you
never wear
guys
those on a street in New York at
Look,
that time.
no. New York was so I was telling Audra this. New York was so dirty then. I lived in Connecticut during the 80s. So I remember as an elementary school kid, we took a field trip to the Museum of Natural History. And like it was scary. It was you did not go into Times Square. You like had to drive through it. And like I remember the kids in our bus yelling things at like people on the street and we had to like run a stoplight because they were worried that the people would like tip our
oh
bus.
my
Oh my
god!
god.
Yeah, no. And then we're a bunch of like obnoxious white kids from New Canaan, Connecticut, like F those kids. But also when we would go through Times Square when we drove, I have a very clear memory of my mom putting her hands over my eyes because there were so many porn theaters and boobies
Yep,
and grindhouse everywhere.
yep.
And it was filthy and gross. And yeah, it was really bad.
Jan, like you chose Chud. This was your choice. So tell us, like, why is this like your very special favorite movie?
Yeah. Like, what's up with
So
that? Who
okay,
hurt you,
so
girl?
I know, seriously. I like I said, I didn't okay, so I had an older brother. He has since passed, but we were very, very, very
Oh.
close. And I remember when he saw Chud as a teenager, he like told me all about it. And I was probably too young. And he was telling me like Chud. And like I knew pretty much, I wasn't even 10 yet, but I knew that Chud stood for cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers.
Yeah.
Um, and he did this thing where he would like take a few steps and like jump and go, Chud. And like, I don't, and I thought it was like the funniest thing. We did that in Disney World. Like, that is like my friend Heather from 8th grade. I mean, this was a long running joke all about Chud. And, it became something, it was just like this long running gag joke. And we started using the word chud to like describe things. Like I use it as like, okay, so
Is it a verb or an adjective? A noun?
both. It's like
Like Smurfs.
okay, Comic-Con. Oh my god, there are so many chuds out there,
Yeah.
or
No, seriously.
chud gates have opened, or like, God, I'm feeling so chuddy right now. Like, and you can just use chud in your daily language.
Yeah.
And I do. I still use the word chud all the time. And I was like, oh, that guy's such a chud. And but when you say it, people know exactly what you're talking about. Like there's no doubt. Like if I'm at a burlesque show with Audra and I look at her, I'm like, oh man, that dude's a total chud, or he is so chuddy.
It's
She knows.
yeah, it's
She
happened.
knows. Yeah.
Does that mean he's hot, or does that mean, like, the not
No.
Well,
hot?
honestly, it depends on who you're talking to because if you tell me, "Hey, that guy's a chud," I'm like, "Oh, he's hot."
What? Do you watch this movie? You were, like, masturbating the entire time you watched this movie. That what's happening here?
No,
Okay.
no, don't you put that on me
Too
unless I
late.
say yes.
What
Maybe.
Maybe.
what
There was one scene in the movie that I was like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?"
I
Hey.
do remember, but like I said, I knew about chud at a very young age, but I didn't see chud until I was like in my probably late 20s, early
Oh,
30s.
really? Oh,
And
no.
yeah, but here's the thing, like, but it had this whole mystique for me of like, oh my God, it's chud, it's chud.
Yeah.
And then I saw it and I was like, this movie
what?
is shit. Like
Yeah.
this is a
Are you
terrible,
kidding me? I
like
thought it
this
was
movie.
too good for us to be reviewing.
Oh my god, I was
Wow.
like, "This movie is just like," and here's the thing, I love it, don't get me wrong. I think it's a really fun, terrible movie, but I was like, "I can't believe this is the movie," because the Chuds were not at all what I thought they were, and I was
Mhm.
amazed at how political it was,
Yeah.
um, and, it just yeah, so it was like, "Whoa, this is,
I was amazed that they took those chud costumes and they had the guts to film it in full light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They were
they're pretty
Yeah.
so not good looking.
Yeah.
no, they're very smart, though. They only show them, like, a second at a time, though. Like, you never have to, like,
Really? I
really
felt like
watch a
in
chud.
the apartment, like, one just kinda walks in, it's kinda doing around.
Dude to doing around.
they're like Slee Stacks. I mean, they're like
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
gross,
true.
toxic Slee Stacks.
So,
They're made the costumes are made in a very similar way, like, when you look at a slee stack and a chud, they're molded
They're
and,
distant cousins.
yeah, one's underground, one's in the forest.
yeah, the eyeball is made out of the same material and has the same shininess as the skin, as the teeth, as the tongue. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, that thing just peeled off of a mold in one fell swoop. There are no pieces, and then they just painted it.
Yeah, and put it through a little, like, industrial slime because that was everywhere in the '80s.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, we all love
I
that
was
slime.
amazed at the talent though. Like they, I mean, I knew John Hurd from Beaches, like he was and Daniel Stern from Home Alone, and then there's like
Oh,
John
yeah.
Goodman and like
His first
you're like,
movie.
"Really?"
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
It was like you see all these people and you're like, "How? Why?"
Sadness.
Also
Everybody's
amazing.
gotta work.
It's such a seedy movie. Like, it so succeeds in its atmosphere. And kind of like what you were describing of like when you were a kid and like seeing New York through those eyes and like that of the 80s and when New York really was hell and the 70s. It's such a snapshot of that moment that like in so many films can fall into that genre. But like for me, this film is maybe one of the funnest movies in the New York is hell genre.
What about that one about the driller, the guy that, like, drills driller killer?
Oh, yeah, and, like, Maniac Cop and all them, yeah.
Those are definitely in the zone. Um,
So,
Yeah, this one is definitely better.
I saw this movie when I was a
Basket
kid.
Case.
Yeah, so
Oh, I love Basket Case so
Me
much.
so I
too.
saw this movie when I was a kid, and I was lucky enough to have parents or a mother who basically would, because she was a single mom, and she would just take me everywhere with her. So she'd always take me to the movies and to the drive-in, and they always wanted to see horror movies. So yeah, like I think I saw this
Is
right.
that why you don't like horror movies now?
No, no, it's not that. It's just that was much later, but oh no, no. I used to watch tons of horror movies when I was a kid and freak out, and then I got really desensitized to it. But yeah, I think we saw this at a drive-in It was a double feature, this and Piranha, but I'm I'm not really sure anymore because like I've seen so many horror movies, and my mother's response to me being scared was like, "Just turn your head away. Just turn your head away." Sit
Don't
here.
listen to the
Yeah,
noises, the
exactly.
all those wet slapping sounds and the
Yes.
bone crunchings. Totally.
So now my imagination is so much worse than so yeah. So I saw a lot of these horror movies when I was a kid, and then I saw them again as an adult, and then I could just laugh at them. So I was just like, "Oh, that's silly," you know. But a lot of the toxic waste stuff, that whole genre has always been just so bizarre to me. Just all of those movies have been any of those toxic waste movies
The
have
Toxic
just been
Avenger. Yeah.
yeah,
A
yeah,
very another 80s trope, really. I mean, if we're looking at 80s politics here, we've got the Reagan era, we got everything basically going wrong. We were understanding that everything's going wrong with the environment. We've got the government abandoning projects because that's basically what this movie's about, right? It's an abandoned experiment,
yeah.
and this
No, they're moving toxic waste through the city, but then they stopped because they couldn't move it anymore legally, so they just started stockpiling it.
yeah, just shove
And
it
then it
under there.
burned.
Yeah,
Yeah, where they were also storing all their street people.
yeah. Okay, so that's really interesting. And Jan, since you were living in New York, maybe you probably have more information on this than we do. But there actually is the concept of mole people in Manhattan. There are people living in subways, and from what I understand, since the subways opened like in I don't know 1904 thereabouts, and ever since then, people have been living underground. Homeless people that can't live anywhere else. They can't afford to live anywhere else. They're forced to find shelter in these tunnels under the ground. Did you ever hear about
Yeah,
that?
Why isn't a Sarah
yeah.
McLachlan song playing in the background?
There was a whole documentary about it, about the people who live in the tunnels under the city, and
Dark days, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's fascinating. I mean, and it's if you think about a place like New York, it's actually not it's probably safer than being above ground, and if for the winters that can be brutally cold, like, it's warm down
Mhm.
there, even on a cold day from all of the energy and everything, the steam, it is warmer down there, and, I know that there were people who would go explore, underground subway tunnels and stations. And there's a lost station that if you ride the train at like the end of the night, you'll go through it. And so there's this whole kind of mystique around it. It's pretty cool. I do not have the guts to ever do that because I figured I would just be murdered.
Yeah.
Um, but
You and me
but
both,
yeah,
sister.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, like I think that it's definitely there. I mean, I imagine I'm pretty
I'm
sure
sure
there's
there's
people still
something
down
on
there.
YouTube.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
this whole weird genre of people, sneaking in and visiting abandoned places and houses and stuff. So I'm sure there's probably some sort of New York underground
Yeah,
thing
it seems like
too.
it would fit in with that dark tourism trend.
But it seems so much more dangerous than visiting a house in the middle of nowhere that's, empty.
Yeah.
Don't know what
Yeah.
you're gonna find down there. You're gonna run into street people.
Oh, for sure. And they will defend themselves. But I've heard about, there's still construction tools down there and like newspapers and, lunch tins and things like that. It's just kind of this whole urban explorer that you can do. I wouldn't do it, but
Nope.
I think
Yeah, I
that
wouldn't do it either.
I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, the subterranean peoples is a very fertile subject, and I think in Escape from New York, we kind of see someone like living in a sewer, come up to get food and go back down. Like I feel like it keeps coming up like throughout art in the past century, um, and it's kind of on everyone's mind. But like especially in the Reagan era, you got him like cutting social programs,
Oh, yeah.
and it's
Yeah,
like
that's
finally
when you
we're
first started seeing street people.
yeah.
Yeah, the mentally ill had nowhere to go. I
Nope.
Right.
mean, it was horrible. I mean, the hospitals were terrible and so inhumane. It's like they cut the funding to build them something bigger and better, and then they never did, and that is, they just left those people there and, on their own, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and this movie is, even though it's entertainment and it's seedy and it's, fast food, like, it really brings up a really important issue for the time.
There's a lot of important issues, though. I mean, that's one of the things that surprises you about Chud when you
Yeah.
like look at it, past the surface of, the like mutant slee stacks. I mean, I guess a slee stack is mutant, but a mutated slee stack and the kind of the goofiness. But you see the issues of, the homeless that are being thrown away like garbage that, aren't given any, no one cares if they disappear, no one cares if they die. They are literally thrown away as garbage. The toxic waste, the government corruption, this broken city. And it's actually like surprisingly, current and relevant to, our lives now, especially as we look at the, the homeless population and how it's growing.
Oh, yeah, I
Huh.
would love to see a Chud for San Francisco.
Nah.
I
Yep.
mean,
Where would they be?
it's just the tenderloin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but, like, there'd be no underground for
Yeah.
them to go
Yeah.
in.
People
I
live underground.
Yeah.
They go
Yeah.
to the underground muni system.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure that there are definitely, I mean, I'm sure, there's supposedly tunnels and basements all under Chinatown.
Yep.
Right, right.
Or there's, places along the waterfront. I mean, I'm sure that there are, we just don't hear about them, but yeah.
And I'm not going to look.
No, I'm not going down there.
No.
Nope.
No.
Much too pretty.
Yes, you
That's
are.
so pretty.
Yeah, don't we don't want your face to get rearranged. That would be
That's
terrible.
your
Beautiful flower.
moneymaker.
That's true. We say shake your moneymaker, we just mean to shake your head around.
That's his moneymaker.
Yeah.
So the film starts with this woman walking her dog on, like, a nice, hot New York summer night, and, of course, she gets, like, grabbed by something, down a manhole. Then we're kind of like, we're in the place. We're in the place, we're in the time, everything gets started. But what's interesting is that actress who plays that woman was
Really?
actually married. I think that's Daniel Stern's wife.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
really?
Really?
Yeah.
In real life?
Yeah, so there's, like, yeah, kind of a factoid right off the bat there. Kind
Wow.
of
All
fun.
right then.
Yeah. So we know something's going on down there. What is it? And then we meet George Cooper,
The coop.
the Coop, everyone's favorite boyfriend.
He hates sleeves.
He does, doesn't he? He
I
hates
hate
his
He
sleeves
really
too.
does. I hate pants, but I wear them.
I wear pants, so I hate pants, so I wear dresses.
Air it out.
You say air? Did you say air it out?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was hilarious.
So she's actually married to Daniel Stern, who's like the does the soup kitchen, but her character is actually married to the cop.
Mhm.
And I did not figure that out for the longest time. And then I kept forgetting that that cop's wife was missing because he was just acting so nonchalant
That is
about so much stuff.
weird. Yeah.
You guys, did that bug you? I was just like, wait a minute, like I would definitely have a more of a sense of urgency and I wouldn't, about
Finding your
all
wife?
of this
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
It's almost like he doesn't wanna let on that he's, like, personally connected to this.
Yeah, like they'll kick him out of the and not let him search.
Yeah, but also I feel like he wouldn't care as much if it was just some
Yeah.
random missing person
Definitely seemed to be really in it and be in everything.
all up in that grill.
Yeah, he was all up in everything.
Right. That's, Captain Bosch we're talking about.
There was actually too, like, there was a lot of white guy actors in this movie, and at one point, I was having a really hard time keeping track of them all.
I know, all look same. It was a
It's
serious all look
seriously.
same.
I
Yeah.
was just like, "Where did this guy come from? Okay, so that's the photographer. Okay, there's the journalist, and who's the other guy that keeps calling the ph the photographer on the phone? And then there's the soup kitchen guy." I was just like, "Okay, gotta just keep them all separated." And this is the city government people, and these are the big government people.
All just a bunch of white guys. I mean, at least
Yep.
Daniel Stern has an interesting face. Like,
Oh,
he's
I
very
love
Yeah.
him.
easy to remember.
I love him.
Okay, so George Cooper's he's a photographer. He's like a whisperer. Like he's the guy who's kind of doing like photo essay, important work, and taking pictures of homeless people. And he made contact with some undergrounders, as they call them in the movie.
They feel attached to him enough that if one gets arrested, that they call him. The way he acted, he would be the last person I'd call.
Well, he cares more about them than he cares about his wife.
Yeah,
Yeah. For
He's nicer to them. He's actually nicer.
she's got this big deal modeling job in which he's supposed to take the photo, and he just walks off.
Like, he just left her
just
there.
Yeah, he can't be bothered with getting paid to do, easy work at a top dollar rate.
Or
Yeah,
supporting his girlfriend
yeah,
wife.
yeah, who's doing her first national, campaign.
I mean, come on, is this a deal breaker?
It's a
Yes.
deal
No,
breaker.
nah.
It's a deal breaker.
It's a
The
deal
sex
breaker.
is not that good.
It can't be.
No,
There none is.
no.
I don't wanna tell the world that because but that's the truth. No sex is that good.
All right, so he's pulled into it because a homeless lady calls him from jail, right?
Yeah, no, she called him and then he just because she tried to steal the gun, right? And then
Yeah. Oh my god.
he goes down and one of the guys is sick with what we don't know what it is. I mean, we find
80s.
out, but
Chud
he's sick.
fever.
Yeah, it is. It's like Pac-Man fever, but for chuds.
So are we on when it goes later? I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead, but when it goes later into the Chud mystique, so it's like, okay, like, are we playing by zombie rules here where a bite can get you? Or is it like a natural disaster? What's happening here? And it's just like, whatever.
I
It's
think
just
I think
Chud.
once I think once you're exposed to it, because like, okay, so first I was like, okay, you have to be exposed to it, and then you slowly start to mutate. But then the cannibalistic stuff happened was if they were cannibals, when they turn into Wendigo, or are those just Canadians? So I wasn't sure, you know, what was happening with that, or are they Chud-dagos if they were Canadian cannibals who were exposed to the toxic waste. So I see a whole new series of comic books about Chud, and the various different types of Chud.
Yeah, Jan, can you work on that?
The
The,
pantheon of Chud.
the Chud pantheon. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I would probably be more interested in doing a Bud the Chud book.
There you
I want to do a Bud the Chud children's book.
go.
There you are. There you are.
Because
It's
he's
gonna
definitely
be like a total nightmare fuel.
because he's definitely a better boyfriend.
Yes.
Okay, so people are going missing. Homeless lady wants to steal a gun for self-defense. George, like, has to go talk to some homeless people to figure out what's going on. He talks to, this guy that runs the soup kitchen, who's played by Daniel Stern, who's called AJ the Reverend. And AJ's like, "Yeah, people are going missing, like, I guess a lot of ground have been kind of, like, just not coming around."
Yeah, they haven't been by for a week.
Right.
Yeah.
And these are people he's gonna see every day because 'cause they're a soup kitchen. So they kinda team up. They're like a weird duo, but they team up to find out what the fuck's going on.
And then there's the press guy, right? Who's trying to break the story. I mean, it's just like a flock of white dudes all trying to figure it out.
Yep. Like what happened?
It's like,
I don't know. How can we do this? What's going on? I don't remember.
and they all kind of look alike. They're all like vaguely sweaty, kind of dirty, like
Vaguely
white
sweaty.
dudes
I
trying to
love
figure out where the homeless people are, where the wife is, and what the government is covering up. So they joined forces to form like mediocre white man power team.
It was totally funny, like, I feel like some of the actors were actual street people, and then I feel like some of them were actors, and you could kinda tell the difference because the actors had so much dirt on them. Like, one guy just looked like he was just covered in peanut butter.
Yeah, some
I
of
just imagine like the old woman, like they're doing her makeup and they just like take out like a compact full of like coal and just like start like powdering her face.
"Anybody got any Folgers?" You know, it's
Yeah,
Totally.
like,
exactly.
dust it up, and
I mean,
yeah,
well,
or
all of
like
their budget was on Chud, so I mean, what did you expect?
yeah, those costumes.
That would be
So
Chud.
yeah, so they all the mediocre team of white men are trying to figure out what's happening, and they are slowly unraveling this mystery.
However, the government is trying to squash all information. So there's
Of
like the
course.
Nuclear Regulatory Commission that they keep talking about,
Sure.
um, who's like
Sure.
hiding some stuff.
Sure. They're always hiding something. It's always new. Whatever.
And there's like the who's the super bad guy?
I don't know. He's just another mediocre white dude.
They all kind of look the same, so it's like, okay.
And that's sort of that boardroom scene where they're all talking about what the chud is and what's
Wilson,
happening
that's
and stuff. Where
Wilson. Yeah.
yeah, where where it's like full on open kimono with all of the like information and everything. Like like they're in front of the soup kitchen guy and in front of like the street cop and the mayor and
That would
police
never happen.
commissioner,
Yeah.
and then the government people, and it was just like, I just can't believe it, it was just like or it was just like, there would never be this much discussion about what's actually happening in such a broad audience.
Well, they were just very open with the, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
Really
I
maybe it was just
appreciate this.
yeah, maybe it was just one of those things like, "Oh, they'll never believe you."
Yeah, they figured this guy's nobody, so they can say whatever they want in front of him,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, nobody's gonna believe a soup kitchen guy.
Wasn't like the press there though?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
Was the
it's like,
press guy or was the press guy already dead? I don't think the press guy
The
was
press
there.
guy dies at some point, because he goes down there with this camera.
Yeah, he's like the first to go, right?
Other than a
Yeah.
bunch of ladies and dogs.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, the photographer and his wife live in this building, and then there's this single mom and her kid and the floor apartment that is the most hideous place that you would ever want to live. It looks like it was an abandoned building that they tried to use as a set, and they have a child in it.
it probably
So
was an
crappy,
abandoned
but
set.
then it appears that the kid gets eaten by a chud.
Yeah, that part I didn't. That part was fine. I was like, okay, whatever.
Wait, he gets eaten by a chud?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, like, it's,
it's
like,
implied.
banging on the door and stuff, and it gets in,
I
and
thought he goes to dinner. He likes his like just leaves the door.
I don't think he gets eaten by the chud. I
Darn
think
it.
they spared him.
Yeah, yeah. They just set it up so it's like some suspense, but then he's fine.
Darn
You
so
it.
they're
think?
just banging on the door and they don't get in?
Yeah,
Yeah, it makes you think that, like, he's in danger, but he's actually fine.
yeah, yeah.
Screw that noise.
I think the kid got eaten.
So do
No.
I.
Well,
So do
okay.
I.
We'll leave it up to the audience. You tell us what happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. In the comments, yay or nay, that kid got eaten.
I mean, if they were able to break down the door of the second floor walk up
Yeah.
They were more motivated because there was like a hot chick in there with poodle hair.
with her
Yeah.
nasty yeah, with her poodle hair and nasty Keds.
Yeah. They didn't give it. They didn't care about the kid. They're like, oh, the kid's like an appetizer.
This is like, "Oh, it's the, obligatory shower scene in the '80s movie."
Wow.
Shitty's
And
Let's
ass.
then
Can we talk about the shower scene?
Of course we
yeah.
can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the AJ and George, they're underground, chasing chuds or whatever. And so meanwhile, the girlfriend's up in the apartment. She takes a shower alone.
You do.
Nothing scary about that. But then she's like, "Oh, the drain it got clogged. Oh, the drain's clogged."
That is my fucking nightmare, though.
It gets
Seriously.
gnarly, right?
Like,
This is the scariest part in the movie.
Yeah, it is. I was just like, "Oh,
this
jeez,
is my
man."
fucking.
I was
That is my
expecting her to,
fucking.
like, dig a
Ugh.
big ball of hair and guts out.
Oh,
That is my fucking nightmare. Like, seriously, like, ever since I saw another thing, remake of The Blob, where that kid got, where that girl got sucked down and it came out of the shower. Ugh, just I can't do it. I can't fucking do it. That stuff is just nasty to me.
Ugh.
Ugh, what? Like, please, like, if you really want to get to me, show weird shit coming. Like when I saw Ghoulies and that Ghoulies came out of that toilet and bit that guy's ass. No, and and that fucking snakes on a plane when that when the snake came up out of the toilet. Nah, anything where I'm naked and I'm defenseless, like on the toilet
Yeah.
or in the shower. No, fuck all that noise. Nope, won't do it. Get
A
away from me.
ghoulie ghoulie in a toilet's like one of my favorite things in the entire
Ugh,
world.
ugh,
So good.
so gross.
A
Ugh,
knife.
ugh, just
But
making me. Ugh,
despite
Truly in a toilet,
I
I
ugh,
know.
know it's serious.
ugh. You're all horrible,
I know.
horrible people.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ugh.
Despite
This is why you
her
need a poop knife.
poop is that what you keep next to the toilet?
Well,
Yeah,
Oh,
throw it.
on a completely unrelated,
yes, please.
there's this YouTuber, and he's constantly making knives out of weird shit. And so he made like a smoke knife, and he made like an aluminum foil knife, and he makes all these weird knives. And I want him to make a poop knife, you know. So like I'm just like I keep wanting to post and be like, hey, make a poop knife.
The poop knife is so you can chop up the poop so it'll flush easier.
Love it.
Flush easily. Oh
Flush
my god.
easily.
I'm the
Okay,
worst.
sorry.
I'm
Go
sorry.
back on to what we were saying. I
Yeah,
apologize.
where were we? I
I
forgot.
don't know.
The shower
We
scene.
were talking about the
Shower scene.
shower
Oh,
scene.
yeah.
Okay, she was
Sorry.
bent down, and I was expecting her to pull out this wretched hairball. It was probably like 90% me, but from all of the times I washed my hair and never cleaned the drain. It was my
Ooh.
nightmare, and I made it.
Well, despite her experience in the shower, like, she keeps going. Like, this
No, okay, so she leans down, she pulls this thing out, and it just blasts her in the face like a fire hose of
yeah,
blood.
Can't. I can't. Ugh.
And then you're just like and then it cuts away. And you're just like, "Wait a minute, what was happening there? She was being attacked by a shower." And then the next scene, she's all like all clean and just
Yep.
stewing around her
yeah.
apartment.
Can't do it.
If
I would
It
one
just
would
be like
not be
I'd be
okay.
on the phone. I would be like, "Hell no. I am out of here. This
Fuck
is
yeah.
bullshit. I'm calling the soup."
totally, if red fluid flies up at you through a drain, wouldn't you assume that there's something dead in there and you should call the cops,
Bright red
landlord,
viscous.
anyone?
I would
Yeah,
I
no.
would move.
I
I
mean,
would
in your
yeah.
eyes, it would just be like, "What the hell did I just get in my eyes?"
Yeah, you go to the hospital.
Yeah, I'd just be like, "All right, I'm getting a sample of this.
Yeah,
Somebody
I
smear
mean,
on a slide.
so
I'm out of here."
please remove my eyeballs. Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
I guess healthcare was a lot different back then, so
it's also 1980 New York, so God only knows what's coming out of those
Yeah,
pipes.
maybe that's normal.
yeah, she's totally like, God damn it, not again.
Yeah,
And
I
how
mean,
did you
like
get hepatitis?
The
Yeah,
shower.
exactly.
You
the
know,
Fucking shower.
shower.
"Oh, poop was coming out of my shower." That's how I got it. Isn't that how everybody gets hepatitis?
Hey, New York is hell.
Yeah, she was very nonchalant about the whole thing. So I was just like, hey, I'm feeling it.
So meanwhile, underground
Wait, I wanna go back though.
okay,
Did she not have the weirdest shower head on her shower?
You were
You guys
really obsessed with these.
did you see it?
what
It
was
was
it?
the I don't it was like this weird, complicated, but not complicated shower 80s shower head that I've never seen anything like it.
Did
I
you
don't know.
want it?
Okay, you guys can go on if you like, I don't want one, but it was just weird. I was just like, I've never seen anything that weird before," and, like, it was just, like, one of those, like, weird, kind of old not very chic, bathrooms, and then it has, like, this weird ass shower head where you're just like, "Oh, well, maybe that's, like, they spent all their money on in this bathroom."
I love that that's your takeaway. It's just like,
Yeah, so I don't remember it, but,
Okay.
I might have been more, like, focused like, still upset about the
The
blood.
blood.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was more offended by her pink sweatshirt with that belt over it. Like, what the hell was
are
that?
you serious? That was amazing.
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah, that was terrible. I was
I
like,
know, like
"Really? Like, this is you're not even like it's not even like a full sweatshirt, and, like, you have this, like, weird belt, and I don't know why you would do that. It just seems endlessly complicated."
for the '80s, there was so much cool clothes, and especially in New York and stuff. I just felt like she's this very attractive woman, and they did not it was just like, "Well, what is the most unattractive and weird thing we can put on this girl?"
The most fashion forward thing was that tube top, the gray tube top she wears, and it's still ugly as shit.
It's a great tube top.
I mean, think about it though. She's probably living in not a very nice area. She is a model, but come on. She can't keep those clothes.
Madonna was, like, skipping around at that time, and, she definitely was probably better dressed than that.
All you had to do was wear your underwear in public back then, and it
I
was
Yeah.
great.
know.
I mean, come on. How many of you were wearing your underwear in public? I
I
know
definitely
Vanna
was.
was.
But you know what I would have done with that sweatshirt? I would
Felt
What?
have
it.
cut off the didn't it have, like, an elastic at the bottom?
It did.
Yeah, I would have cut that off. I would have gotten it a couple sizes too big too,
Would you
and then I
flash
would have
danced it?
cut yeah, I would have totally flash danced the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense though.
Then
Okay,
I would have
sorry.
put the belt on it.
I've totally put us on like a fashion club tangent. Let's get back to
Yeah, okay. Can someone help me by telling me what's happening underground right now?
Yeah, so Daniel Stern goes to figure out what's in the basement, and he gets locked down there by, like, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, so because they want him dead,
Yes.
because they don't want him talking. So, Daniel Stern and, bad boyfriend are running around George Cooper are running around underground in, New York City getting attacked by chuds, and they find each other. They're stumbling around and they find the investigative reporter's equipment, which is still operating. Meanwhile, up
Right.
above, the Nuclear Commission is planning to gas underneath the city because they want to clean up their mess and they want anyone who might know about their chud making abilities to be dead.
Seems legit, totally safe. Gas underground. Nothing will explode. No one will get hurt. Just
What
feel
kind of gas?
I don't remember, but it's gas.
Was it natural gas, like they're gonna explode it,
well, they
or was
talked
it
about
like
opening up the gas lines, so it must be
yeah,
natural
so was
Yeah,
gas.
it yeah, how
yeah.
stupid.
Well, yeah. I mean, so yeah, so they're trying to murder them by gassing them, and then they're running around. They get a hold of cop with the dead wife and dead dog, and then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, because don't
Yes.
the chuds start coming up from the ground, and you start seeing
Yeah,
them.
they
Well,
start
yeah,
attacking. They eat John Goodman.
right. We see 2 cops. One is played by John Goodman, and the cops are kinda assholes, and they're in a diner.
Of course.
But it's fun to see him look so young.
I know, and it was Murphy Brown's boyfriend.
Oh, yeah.
He's the other one.
Really?
Um,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and
Look
so it's
familiar.
those two, and then they're eating. They're like sexually harassing the waitress, and they get attacked by the chud.
Because surprise, surprise, if you start flushing underground full of poisonous gas, the monsters will find a way up and out.
Life finds a way.
It doesn't it though?
Oh, you said life finds way. Okay, I said Chud finds way. I was like, damn, Jan's here with it.
Okay, that's our next shirt. Chud finds a way.
Yep.
Life finds a way, yo.
So wait, have we found the boxes underground yet that say contamination hazard urban disposal?
Yes.
Okay.
I I believe we have. I think Daniel Stern I think the reporter found it and then he got attacked by chuds. And then the other guys find it when they're like when they find each other underground. So now we know what's causing the chuds. We know what's making them.
Right, right. And it's because the city of New York they can't transport toxic waste like above ground, so they just are just like sweeping it underground, just keep hiding it under there.
I thought they were doing it because that's how they had to. They didn't know where to do with it, so they were just like, okay, we're gonna, people
Yeah,
My
don't.
you
god, dump it in the East
Yeah,
River like everybody else in the 80s. Jesus.
yeah, exactly. Another trope of the 80s, like dumps and toxic waste, and where do we put it? Do we shoot it into space? Do we put it in the ocean? Yeah, it was like a this is a big deal at the time. But no, you put it underground and then the byproducts are just gonna like turn you into chuds.
I'm fine with that. Okay, so real talk, chuds, when they started coming out in the daytime, that shit scared the shit out of me. I'm sorry, And what was with the
Ooh.
psychedelic chud?
Didn't see the
What
psychedelic
No, there
Chud.
was a chud, I guess, who it got all it died, but it kind of melted or got all it started
They all
showing
looked
different
melted
colors.
to me.
Yeah, there's so for this movie, there's like two groups of people. It's like mediocre white men and chuds.
Mhm.
And like they just kind of travel in packs and it's hard to really distinguish either one of them.
So I just remember that like there was this homeless guy, and I think he was shooting up, and then a chud came by or something, and it like freaked him out. I remember because he was kind of cute, and then the chud was like, God, I can't remember. If I can find a picture of it, I'll send it to you guys. Because I was just like, there was this chud, and it looked all just like super bizarre looking, and it was just frightening. Ugh, scared the shit out of me.
Oh.
Ooh, like the weirdest little chud of all.
Oh, yeah, guys. I swear to
The
God.
scariest Chud of Chudsville.
Well, we think that AJ and George are gonna die under there because there's gas pouring in there, but they do escape. Spoiler. Uh,
Damn it. No, I can't see this movie. You spoiled it for me.
That whole thing is a
spoiler.
spoiler.
It's true. We've never not spoiled anything.
People shouldn't expect us to talk about an '80s movie and not spoil it.
So Wilson, like the majorly bad guy who wanted to hide everything and turn the gas on and everything. So he suddenly is there trying to run them over with a fucking truck.
Terrifying, though. That was really scary because 'cause they're halfway out of a manhole, and the guy wa it looks like the guy's gonna run him over with a truck. I was just like, now that was scary for me. Just
Really?
like, oh,
That
or
scared you?
having the truck park over the manhole so that they can't get out and they're stuck under there getting eaten,
Very
getting all
effective.
eaten.
Yeah.
Then the cop are like, "Ha!" Okay, so the cop tries to shoot the bad guy, the big government guy, and then the big government guy shoots him, and, the reverend somehow shoots the government guy when he's coming at him with the truck. Is that how it went down?
I think so. Didn't the
Did
truck
we all see the same movie? I was
you know,
totally sober.
yeah,
The truck does explode.
the truck does
Yeah.
explode.
Yeah, Wilson exploded his.
Inexplicably.
I just keep thinking about Tom Hanks. Wilson!
My God.
Tom Hanks should have been in this movie.
Then his then this pregnant girlfriend shows up, but wasn't she bitten by a chud?
Yeah, is she gonna turn into a chud? Is that
Yeah,
like what
I
we're
was
left
thinking
with?
that same thing too. I
No,
was
their
thinking
baby. That's what Bud the Chud was. It was their baby.
Bud the Chud is not the baby. Bud the Chud is, but yes, it could be. Like that makes sense for the sequel instead of whatever we got.
Yeah, it's like The Fly too. We got Eric Stoltz.
So another interesting thing about Chud is, and maybe this is one of the most important things about Chud, Jordan Peele loves this movie so much that the movie Us is basically based on Chud.
What? I can see that though.
He actually wrote about it. It's actually true. When I heard that,
Yeah,
I was like, "Yo, put the pot down."
yeah.
Bruh.
Or not.
What's
Or
really
not.
cute.
That's true.
What's really cute about this is that the director Douglas Cheek, he has a daughter who went to school with Jordan. They're the same age, and he used to go over there all the time as a kid, and he was like obsessed with Chud, and so he was like a big fan of Chud as a kid.
That's so sad. Because here it is. That daughter probably thought it was cute, and wanted to talk to him and date him, and he's just like, "Show your children."
You think he was using her for her Chud?
Yeah, definitely. That poor
He
girl.
wanted to get to the sweet, sweet Chud.
No,
Oh
seriously, that
man.
poor girl was
connections.
probably all like, "Yay! Like, I really like you, Jordan." And he's like, can I talk to your dad? I want to see the chud."
Remember that part in Chud when it's like enough.
Remember the time in Chud the truck blew up? That was
I
awesome.
mean, seriously, it's like I totally feel it right now because I totally just want to geek out with Jan about like comic books, but I can't because I don't want to be that fan, quote unquote. So I'm just like, yeah,
Do it.
No, we're talking about Chud. I'll do it offline. I can tell you all the crushes I had on people, and you can tell me if they're dicks or not.
Oh, that's what you want. Oh, yeah, you want dish. Yeah,
Sorry,
we
sorry,
should.
Jan. This is exactly what you wanted when you came on this show.
All right.
No, I can probably tell him. So Checky anytime.
I mean, it's like I'm gonna meet these people. you know,
Yeah, but you wanna be able to fantasize somebody you feel good about later.
I still do. It's fine.
Honestly, for the most part, comic people are really nice and they're real good. There's a few bad eggs, but there's a lot of really cool, awesome people.
It's
Are
mostly
they
the
probably
fans that are chuds.
Oh,
wow? Really?
Aw.
Chud. So how does it end? How does this masterpiece end?
It blows up.
um,
They blow
they
them up,
yeah,
right?
they blow up the chuds in the sewer, but I feel like all of the chud there were some chuds on the loose, so, like, there's
Yeah,
just, like,
exactly.
chuds in Central Park and, like, chuds running around the Battery, like, I feel like they only kind of solved the problem.
It's not like they evacuated all the street people from the underground before they blew it
Oh,
up.
they didn't
Oh,
care. Come on, they don't care.
No, they were
yeah,
gonna gas homeless people.
Yeah, big government.
they did,
Yeah,
They
big
did.
government.
Yeah.
Come on, this is
Mhm.
the '80s. They
yeah.
can fuck all
How
those
many
people.
people are in those tunnels did we not meet?
So, Jan, did you live anywhere near Chud Central?
I did not, by the time I moved to New York, it had been cleaned up. It was totally, like, Disneyfied, like,
Oh,
Giuliani Central,
okay.
and, um, I think I caught because I moved there in '99, and I caught the tail end of, like, any of the last kind of, like, seedy remnants, left, and it's sad, like, everything now is like a Dwayne Reed or, like, a bank. I just remember, when I started at DC, in the 10 block radius of the office, there were, like, a ton of places you could get lunch for, like, $5, and by the time I left, like, most of them were gone, and they were a bank.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, but that was in Midtown, and it's still weird though because I remember the stories. I remember being in New York, and knowing how bad it was, and it was not like that at all. My parents took in an inner city kid one summer through a ministry, and this kid was 13 years old, and he had never seen grass, and he didn't know how to read
Oh my god.
because he had
Aw.
grown up in the Bronx and, like,
Fuck.
he was just an inner
Illiterate?
city he was illiterate and he had never seen grass. And, like, he spent the summer with my parents. They almost adopted him, and, so their family almost went from, like, 2 kids to 4 kids really quickly,
Wow.
and it didn't work out, but yeah, I mean, I remember how scary it was, and I remember when I moved to New York, my dad had worked in the city and he was still traumatized by it. He was still like, because he had lived through the blackouts and like blizzards, and he was just like, ugh.
Kids, get out
But
of here, kids.
New York was no longer hell when you lived there. It
Well, no,
had
because
become
Yeah.
Disneyland.
well, no, because I was wondering if she if she actually saw places in the movie and was like, hey, that's my old stomping grounds, or hey, I know that guy, or hey, that's my street.
No, but I know like in general where some of those areas were, and now they're all like shishi restaurants and like
Ah,
art galleries, and it's literally like that. It is, yeah, the city has changed. So I mean, you guys know you all live in, we're in San Francisco and things, and you've seen how it's changed, but it really, I mean, and now you can't even walk in Times Square, and that's just bizarre.
hmm. So it's
It is
no
crazy.
longer pimps and chuds.
No, now
Mm.
it's like moms from Wisconsin,
And they're baby chuds.
and
Oh
well,
god.
yeah.
They're chud
More like
babies.
ghoulies.
But it is, I mean, to Audra's point, it really is a snapshot of New York in a certain day and age that, in 10 years from now, no one will believe you. No one will believe that New York could have ever been that way.
It's just like
Right.
Vegas.
Um, yeah, it's, it's odd. I mean, even like we think about Oakland, of some areas in Oakland, 10 years ago. And now it's all gentrified and it's not the same. And that is so much of that is like, that's Chud. Now that that crappy studio apartment probably rents for like, $4,000 a month. And
with the bloody plumbing.
Yeah, yeah,
with the
extra.
bloody, I mean, that's extra. The exposed brick and the bloody plumbing are extra.
I have a very important question for you, Jan. Would you consider coming back to do Chud 2, Bud the Chud?
Oh my god, I would love
For
to.
Halloween,
I
that would
mean,
be amazing.
because the
That'd be great.
tattoo is such a gift. It's like, it makes no sense. Like, it just but it's still really stupid and really funny, and there's a lot of WTF moments, and yeah. I I love both movies, but I love them for separate reasons. For me, Chud has sentimental value. I mean, and this is going to sound so dumb. I think of Chud and I think of my brother. It brings back fond memories of doing the Chud
Sweet.
walk, the Chud dance,
Yeah,
in Disneyland,
That's
and like
beautiful.
just
Yeah.
yeah.
That's very sweet.
and it's this weird thing, and like I said, when I first saw the movie, I was like, "Ugh," but I've learned to respect it, and it means something to me, so when I see it, I think of him, and I think of, like, the audacity of calling a movie Chud, and that
Yeah.
when you find someone who knows what Chud stands for, you feel like you are instant friends.
It's true. It's like some
Yeah.
insider knowledge.
I had to tell my
Yeah.
partner what it was because he didn't know what it was. He was just like, what the fuck is that bullshit?" And I'm like, "It's Chud, damn it."
Did you make him
I
watch it with you?
No.
oh, no. I use it as a litmus test. Like, do you know what CHUD is? Have you seen CHUD?
No.
Do you know what CHUD stands for?
He would leave me.
And
Yeah, and also it's like anytime it comes out, it's like in The Simpsons, 1,000,000 times they reference Chud. It's so
oh, I know
special.
it's when the CHUDs come out.
Child what was it? Childlike Humanoid Urban Muchacho.
Like, amazing.
Air Chud.
Uh, I mean, yeah, I mean, I make jokes all the time. It's like Chudley Do Right and Chudley More and like, you
Chudley
know,
Moore. Love it.
Chuds across America. I mean, it really is like the gift that keeps on giving and trying to find like ways to insert the word chud into like daily life, into sentences. It's it's quality stuff.
It's good. I'm way into Chud. I'm happy you came on here to share it with us. For our
I know.
The Tao of
I feel
Chud.
like I need some like booty shorts now with the word like chud on the butt. It's like a juicy
I want
couture
that sweater.
tracksuit, but
we can
instead of
do
juice.
this. We can do this. We're gonna do a Chud-easily shirt for the Speakeasily store.
Oh my god, can we do like nameplate necklaces that say chud?
Yes!
Oh my god.
I know how much you love those, Jan.
I
I
do.
love
I
those
love a
too.
good, like yeah, so
Just for you, sweetheart.
I know.
So, Jan, for our chuds at home who'd like to get in contact with you, where can they find out
Oh,
more about you?
no, don't.
Or can we all
Um,
stalk
They're
you?
all,
No.
yeah.
I'm good. Good.
No, I'm good. No, I mean, I am on the socials. You can, I use each of my platforms for kind of a different purpose. Like if we have been friends at some point and we've lost contact, Facebook is where you should hit me up if you want if you want to hear my political ramblings and like occasional angry thoughts, Twitter's the place. And if you want to see my cats and like shit that I sew and eat, then Insta's you'll want to check me out. They're pretty much Jann Jones everywhere. There's two N's in Jan. But yeah, I mean, it's I'm around and I will don't send me unsolicited scripts.
Or dick pics. Yeah.
No, I have never gotten one of those.
Dude, you want some?
I'll give you
No.
one.
I mean, unless it's Dick Butkus or, like, Dick
Bling
Van
dong.
Patten,
They never send
like,
them to me though. It's annoying.
I
You
I
want it
don't
to
know
you.
how I've escaped this long. I'm not saying I haven't gotten consensual ones, but
Oh,
I have
yeah.
never gotten unsolicited ones.
See, now she's just bragging.
I
Oh,
know,
yeah,
right?
let's not
Right.
I hope that stays this that way.
I know, right?
I feel like
so
we
yeah.
need to edit this part out.
I might do that. Uh, but
Why?
I do recommend Jan Jones' Instagram account because you need to see her collection of multidactyl cats. Did I say that right? No, polydactyl cats.
Polydactyl.
Polydactyl. I only have one at this point, but he's you can actually follow him. He's Jonesy Jones the cat on Instagram.
Oh lord.
Um,
Is it
I
pterodactyl
know I'm
cat?
one of those a-holes who made an Instagram for my cat, but he has a
Uh-huh.
lot of opinions. He has a lot of things to say, and
And he's voting.
he's voting. I actually really like writing in his voice because it makes me laugh because he's funny. And sometimes you'll get some Garfield references, like he doesn't like Mondays, but he likes lasagna. Uh and those are quality.
Seems
I
legit.
imagine that his voice sounds like Brad Pitt's voice.
He is a total himbo. He's so handsome and he's so dumb. He is not he is just like he's just kind of like he's just the dumbest thing, but he's so sweet. And
Mhm.
I can tell you a very funny story, and you can edit this out if you want. But there's a shoebox in the house that he loves to sit in, and he's so fat he has broken it,
Love
and
it.
so now he like spills out of it. But wait, you guys, it gets better. We've discovered he's eating the box now. So my cat is
What?
munching on box like all day long.
Dude.
He's eating the box that he spilled out of?
We just find, like, pieces of cardboard everywhere, and it's all over the floor, and he's, like, literally eating and chewing the box,
You
and
Wow.
just wanna say your cat's a box muncher.
my cat is a dirty box. He's just sitting in the corner munching box. It's kind of
Aw.
amazing. I literally, like, I lovingly taped it together, I got all the seams, and then, like, a week later, I think it's completely flat now, and he just sits on it like a placemat.
Oh my
Yes.
god!
There's too much pussy for this box.
I love fat cats.
He's so he's so dumb, I love him. I love him so much. He's so pure.
He's a WAP. He's a wide ass pussy.
He is. He is. Thank you so much for having me on, you guys. This was so much fun. I love getting to talk about Chud and my memories of Chud, and, um, I'm sure my friend Heather, I will tell her about this, and she will laugh because she also did the Chud dance with us at Disney World, and
Awesome.
Aw.
Aw.
yeah, so, like, it's just one of these weird things that's played a really big part in my life, and, it's so stupid, and I love it though, and it's just one of those things, so getting to talk about my love, getting to talk about my memories of Chud with you guys has been an honor.
Oh, thank you.
Aw, thank
It's
you
been
so
And
much. It's
fantastic to
been
have
such an
you
honor to have
here.
you
yeah. Maybe one day
talk
you
to
can show
us.
us the chud dance.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, I'll do, like, an Insta for it for you. It's
Yeah.
like you literally, like, you take 3 steps forward and you go 1, 2, 3, chud, and you jump and you hunch over and you kinda, like, flex your arms under, um, when you yell chud.
Totally know
Chud!
what you're describing.
Yeah,
So you kind of
eh
just, like, kind of flicks out, and then you pull your arms in like a little tiny, like a T-Rex almost,
yeah, and
but
you're like,
under your
1, 2,
armpits.
3, chud.
I'm so
Yeah,
ready for
and
this.
that is the Chud dance, and it's like we did it all over, like, Disney World and Epcot, and, like, Heather and I had never seen Chud, but we thought my brother was the coolest, so we just went along with it. We were like he was probably high, but we were like,
Ah,
1, 2, 3, Chud, and so, yeah, to this day, like, I just remember it, and I can do it, and, yeah,
I love
so
it. I love
it's so
that.
dumb, so good.
All right, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Find out more at speakeasily.tv. You can find us on Facebook, Speak Easily Show. We have a special people's group, the Speak Easily. What's it called?
Speak easily, personal people party.
Yeah, the Speak Easily special people group thing. Speak Easily Hour Minute group on.
If you're part of it, you already know.
Yeah, leave us a review. We'll read it. Send us a message. We'll try to read it on the air and try to answer your questions. And feel free to suggest some movies too or guests. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have certainly been an audience. Good night.